Hi gang, Rob here. It is the afternoon of 1/1/23, 1 January 2023. It's New Year's Day. Yeah. Let's see, we've been to church today, cleaned Heidi's bathroom today, took out the trash today. It's time for a video to start the year. And the customary retrospective is today's video. I thought I'd do the pocket dump and the wrist check today in front of the camera at the bench instead of in my car like I do on some of the heads up videos. So you're not looking at any of today's featured items, you're looking at the pocket dump and the wrist check. Yeah, today clipped to the top of the left front pocket, the Spyderco Gale Bradley Advocate, riding in the bottom of the left front pocket. The Great Eastern Cutlery Titty number 92 Talon in OD linen micarta. And on the wrist today, the Omega Seamaster Professional 300-meter diver. Yeah. So let's get this back in the pocket. Let's get this back in the pocket. And let's get this back on my wrist where it belongs. Yeah. All right, what we've got for you today is my list of the top 10 knives carried by yours truly in 2022. And guys, this is going to be a boring list. You know, I've been carrying knives, collecting knives, reviewing knives for a long time. And sometimes there's not a lot new under the sun that tickles my fancy enough to get in the pocket, right? So this year I've got five modern folders. I've got 3 traditional slip joint pocket knives and 2 fixed blades. Let's see, what should we start with? You know, let's start with the fixed blades this year. So I've got 2 and they're going to make sense, right? They're both Bark Rivers. Let's first talk about my most carried EDC Fixed Blade. It really doesn't ever change. It is the Bark River Featherweight Fox River. This one in Elmax stainless steel by Oodleholm. It is wearing OD green linen micarta scales with mosaic pins and red liners. Why do I love it? Well, because not only is the handle unbelievable in hand ergonomically, it's hand filling. The blade is quite thin, 3/32 thick, with a very high saber convex grind. Blade's about 3 inches long, maybe a little longer. Even though it is very economical with the finger choil that's about what, 70/30, I get all 4 fingers in front of the horn in a saber grip and even in an overhand pinch grip if I try. If you need to hang out with the pinky behind the horn, no big deal, especially in the pinch, it might be more comfortable. But it's super economical, it's super thin and slicey, and oh, is it handsome. So that is my number 1 EDC Fixed Blade. Now how about a hunting knife, or a camp knife, or a meat processing knife? Could you even process light kindling with it? I think you could. This, I'm so happy I own it. It is the Bark River Kalahari 2. This was a consignment knife, and shout out Scott if I'm wrong, but I believe this was yours. This was a consignment knife that did not sell. I don't know, what, 4 years ago? How could this not have sold? I mean, really? Cocobolo scales, mosaic pins, red liners, A2 blade, an unbelievable meat processor. Will it split kindling? Heck yeah. This is my turkey, ham, and prime rib knife, mostly though. Will it process Bambi? I think it will. It's got, what, about a 7-inch blade? Now the knock on the Kalahari too, maybe why they're not so popular, the handle, a little thin. But you know, if you got gloves on or if you're in the kitchen, it doesn't matter. I love it. It is so slicey and so robust. So, my most carried large fixed blade, the Kalahari 2 from Bark River. Now let's see. Should we do traditional slip joints or should we do modern? Let's do modern folders. Why don't we do modern folders? And this list ain't gonna surprise anybody. If you guys watch my pocket dumps, you can probably do the math. So let's see. Number 5, most carried modern folder of 2022 from Benchmade. The Mini Crooked River Benchmade Custom Shop version, made to my specifications on material choices and colorations. So you've got the Coyote tan scales. You've got the blue anodized aluminum pivot collars and backspacer. You've got the natural but hard anodized aluminum bolsters, polished split arrow pocket clip, and the blade, CPM 20 CV, wearing the TheApostleP channel logo on my show side, because I'm a lefty, wearing an TheApostleP edge with the Benchmade butterfly. That stunning clip point blade. It's just a perfect size. I love this knife. Probably carried a little too much. Okay, and number 4 most carried modern folder of 2022. I don't know why I don't carry this more, because this is kind of a personal knife, because this is a Benchmade Ritter Griptilian full-size variety, so you know it's going to have the Doug Ritter blade. This one in beautifully stonewashed M390, by the way. But it's not wearing the original handle. This has black canvas micarta scales, commissioned by and sold by Derek Bone at Knife Ship Free some years ago. Also got the Parkerized Emerson style clip. I love the Coke bottle profile and those micarta scales. It is so nice in the hand. And guys, if you knew Derek and you talk to him a lot about his love of knives and how he used them, he would say, I am all over the knife with my hand, depending on what I'm doing. I could be up here, I could be back here, I could be here, I could be. He loved to have them in his hand, and he knew how to use them, and he designed these handle scales for him, and they're beautiful, and they work. Number 4 most carried modern folder, the Benchmade Knife Ship Free Derek Bone Doug Ritter Griptilian. Next up, you knew there had to be one of these on the list, from Chris Reeve Knives, Idaho. This is a large Sebenza 21. Single lug, lefty, black canvas, micarta inlay, drop point, wearing my edge. I don't know, this I think is about a 2014 model that I ordered brand new, direct from Chris Reeve. I love the micarta 21. I used to own an Insingo, but I found, you know what, I don't carry it, so I sold it. I'm a drop point guy when it comes to CRK, or if you look closely, you could make the case that there's a clip that starts right here. It could be a clip point, it could be a drop point. Let's not argue. That's number 3 in my top 5 most carried modern folders for 2022. Let's see, we're getting close. Number 2, a knife I purchased this year. This one was actually found for me on the secondary market by my cousin Vinny. That is A. Stephen Conti, Esquire, attorney at law, Bethesda, Maryland. He knew I wanted one. He found one. Had it sent to me. This is the Spyderco and Delica with the Packawood scales and the Hap 40 blade clad in SUS 410. It is the Goldilocks Midlock Spyderco. It is part Endura, END, part Delica, DELA. It is the perfect size for everyday carry in my world. It's got the full stainless steel line Seki City lockback construction, those beautiful Packawood scales, and this is a beautiful set of Packawood scales, by the way. Not all of them are. It's basically mahogany plywood, right? So, just one little note. I find the Packawood to be extremely durable as long as you buy it with a model that has this clip. Well, anything but the wire clip. When they mill out the pockets for the wire, the Packawood does not like that. It gets very fragile in that area. So if you're going to buy a Packawood Spidey, definitely stick to the standard 3-screw clip. But I love the Endura. It's just perfect in the hand. And if you haven't used a full flat ground skinny Hap 40 blade in your life, you need to, because it performs, guys, in the tasks of daily manly living. That's number 2 in my top 5 most carried modern folders for 2022. What's number 1? Let's see. Can anybody guess? Okay, all at once, all together now. It's the Benchmade 940 BK-2004. Yeah. I said when I reviewed this knife, I don't know why I did that right-handed. I've got it set up for left-hand carry. I said when I reviewed it that if Benchmade had called me and said, Rob, we're going to make a sprint run or a special run 940, not a sprint run because they still make them because they still sell. And we were going to make it just like you wanted. How would we do it? Well, I would have answered, you know, let's do CPM M4. And I know you guys have to Cerakote that black, so let's go with black hardware. And you know what looks really cool with black hardware? Translucent Jade G10. And this is the knife we got. Oh, and by the way, let's throw on a Parkerized split arrow clip. This is absolutely, and you know what? I don't know that there's going to be a year that this will not be my most carried modern folder. Because I think when it comes to modern locking, folding pocket knives, this is the best there's ever been. Yeah, I know. I know, but this is it for me, my friends. I don't know what's going to remove that from the top of my mountain, but it ain't going to happen this year. Okay, I saved kind of my most emotional category for last, right? Do I use these knives as much as I use the modern folders? You know, I always have one modern folder and one slip joint in my pocket, always. Which one do I pluck out and use most? Well, it's the modern folder. But what are my favorite knives to have near me? Well, it's the slip joint pocket knives, the traditional stuff. I got 3 of them. We're going to look at my top 3 most carried for the year to round out my top 10 most carried knives of 2022. And among these 3 are the second knife that I purchased in 2022. The first one was the Endura, and the second one is my number 3 most carried traditional slip joint pocket knife of 2022. And I bet you can guess what it is. This is the Esnix Tarpon, handcrafted in Sarasota, Florida, USA, by my friend Evan Nicolaides. This is the Tarpon. Let me tell you a little story. For several years now, Evan has been going to make me a knife. We thought it was going to be a standard jack, something a lot like, a GEC 77 or 78, probably with a single clip. That's what we thought. And when Heidi and I were down in Florida in October, we stopped in to see Evan, made some dinner plans, and he had just returned from Blade a couple months prior, where, by the way, he won Best Custom Slip Joint of the Year, his second Blade Show winner award. The first one, I think, was in 2018 or 19. He won Best New Maker. In 2021, he did not win, and he kind of took it personally. So when he went to work in 2022 for the show, he made a masterpiece. It was a very old English pattern with many tools. It was amazing. This is not the winner. This is a knife that he took to sell, and it was the only knife he took to sell that came home. Why on earth did this knife come home? This is the Tarpon. I believe it's about 4 1/8, maybe 4 3/16 inches in closed length. It is a curved handled trapper. The handle steel is all 20 CV, so bolsters, which are integral to the liners, are 20 CV. The houndstooth shield is 20 CV. The cover material is bone. It's kind of a, I guess you could almost call it an amber bone, and it is finished in rooftop profile. So if we look at the end, I think you can see what I'm talking about. How the peak is right there. So rooftop jigging, which is done by Evan by hand, and I think it is absolutely stunning, especially with the houndstooth shield. Now the pivot mechanism is a standard riveted pin, and then instead of having just flat liners in the business end of the knife, it has mill relieved liners, so the liners are relieved to leave exposed basically a boss or a washer emulating surface to make the pivot action super smooth and not as draggy. So you're not going to make marks in the blade tang, and you're not going to have as much mechanical drag from the liners. And then here comes the blade. This blade shape is something I'm calling the Esnix drop point, because it has belly like no other drop point. It almost emulates a Japanese Tanto. And that belly, it's kind of an optical illusion. If that belly continued, the blade would be shorter and look more conventional, but because it straightens out at the end of that radius, it gives you this long, slim, pointy, slicey tip. We've also got a long pole and a beautiful cut swedge. We've got engine turned liners, and listen. Oh, yeah. And that's number 3. Why is it number 3? Well, I've only had it since October. That's why. Let's move to number 2. No surprise here. I sold the twin to this knife this last week. This is the Great Eastern Cutlery Titty number 44 Buffalo Jack, or as I call it, the number 44 Magnum Jack. Uh-huh. 3 9/16 inches of gun stock loveliness, hot dog shield, plain bolsters and end caps, but the end caps are chamfered. Gabon ebony covers that look like a pool in a cave. They could be 1,000 feet deep. They're so black. Main clip point blade on the far side, and you need it to be because you need the leverage off the spine of the pen to open that. It's about 7.5 pull. Big usable pen with the Patty's Potato Peeler etch. Lovely pocket knife. Robust, but not super long, right? And you're going to notice a theme when we get to number 1. The number 1 most carried traditional slip joint pocket knife of 2022. I bought it so it would be my most carried knife. You know what it is. My favorite Great Eastern pattern of all time is the 2014 Clip Pen number 78 American Jack. This one wearing absolutely heart-stoppingly beautiful Macassar ebony wood. So beautiful, Bill did not put a shield on this knife. I believe this was a 2017 parts knife at the Rendezvous. 2017, 2018. 8.5 pull on main clip. Oh, that's a thunk, buddy. Yeah. And on this knife, you do need the spine of the pen to pry against to get that main blade started out of the handle. And you're going to notice, you look at that blade, see if I can get it to reflect, but there's a lot of hairlines in that satin because I cut with this knife. You betcha, buddy. So yeah, let's finish the video with those top 3. Number 1 from each category, most carried on the screen. We'll put the 78 in the middle. We'll put the M4 940 on the right. And we'll put the featherweight Fox River on the left. Those are my number 1s in all 3 categories. Fixed, modern folder, traditional slip joint for 2022. The Bark River, featherweight Fox River. The Great Eastern Cutlery Titty Ute, number 78 American Jack. And the Benchmade 940 BK-2004. That'll do it for this one, my friends. Have a splendid and blessed 2023. Grace to you and peace from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. Remember the word, and all 10 of these knives are sharp.